and today we are covering the intimacy and connection rituals. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about what to expect when we do these rituals, and then we're going to cover a few things like resistance and planning so that you can prioritize these types of rituals in your relationship.
So what we're doing this week is we're sharing with you a bunch of different things that we've learned over the years that have been really useful on date nights, things that we do somewhat regularly. Mm-hmm. And you can plug these different exercises in different combinations based on what you're feeling that night.
Yeah, we tend to plan one date night a week, and we schedule it for about 4 or 5 hours in the evening. And we'll kind of go with the flow based on how we're feeling. And it often is up to kind of how I'm feeling, because I'm a little bit more ebb and flowy with my cycle. So sometimes you just kind of have to work together to, give feedback for how you're feeling in your body that day and what would be really nourishing for both of you. And if one of you is feeling really exhausted, have like a big day at work or something, then maybe what you guys need to do is something really gentle. And so we've found that communicating and checking in on the day of is really powerful. We do sometimes plan ahead, but we also make space for change if that's needed, just so that there's no pressure, like pressure to have sex tonight because it's date night. We like to use these rituals as a lead into, love making and connection, but also with the caveat that if it doesn't happen, that's okay too.
Yeah, I like to see the date nights and some of these tools as things that help us with our relationship maintenance, mm-hmm. or relationship growth. And I just want to speak to the folks that might be a little bit more resistant. Maybe one of you is more excited about doing this kind of stuff, and one of you is a little bit more resistant. I want to speak to the resistant person in the room. Here's how I like to explain it. We put in effort in a number of different ways in our lives. Like if you have a business, you put time and you put effort into that business. Maybe you go and you take a business course, and then you spend time working on your business. We take time to work on our physical health. Maybe we have some diet routines. We go to the gym, we work out, we put time in the gym so that we can feel strong and healthy. And we know that if we stop putting that time in, that we get kind of soft and lazy. And a relationship requires that level of dedication. So like we said in the beginning, that relationships aren't just always going to be easy and passive things. They require a level of exertion, a level of effort. And so especially what I would say is that like early in the honeymoon phase, it can be pretty easy, right? Mm-hmm. It's just kind of like happening. And then once you really settle into the relationship, it can be easy to sort of like sit back and relax, and like the relationship can kind of like fizzle away if we don't put energy into maintaining that connection. And so if you ultimately deeply do want a long-lasting connection with your partner, you need to put some effort into making sure that connection stays in place, because there's some natural thing where we just kind of like take each other for granted when we're around all the time. When this lady is around my house all the time and in my life all the time, I kind of take for granted that she's always going to be there, and I can very easily slough off the time that we would normally take to connect, mm-hmm. right? And just be like, just kick the can down the road and do it next week. And so this is me saying, don't slough it off. Remember that time with your partner is a limited resource. They're not always going to be here. And that if you want to maintain a strong connection, you've got to put that effort in.
Yeah, it's important to remember that these practices are literally designed to bring you into harmony together. So when we're feeling a lot of tension with our partner, or if we're in conflict, or if we've just been in the power struggle for a long time, we might feel a lot of resistance to, doing intimacy practices. And in that case, really don't set the bar too high in terms of what your date nights look like. Like maybe your date nights aren't going to look like, going to heaven and having the best sex of your lives. Like maybe you're not in that space. I don't know, maybe you are, and if you are, that's awesome. But just remember that these are tools to help you come back into connection or go deeper into connection, whatever stage you are in your relationship. So if you're feeling a lot of tension and if you're feeling a lot of upset, then following some of these practices, like doing the clearing, like doing some of the dialogue scripts, and then following the breath work or eye gazing practices or the massage practices, those will allow you to get back in sync. And so you can't wait until you feel better to try these practices. If you really want to make it work with your partner, or if you really want to make that connection last, then you got to be in the game together.
So here we're sharing with you a number of different exercises that have worked for us on date night for connection and intimacy. But I want to acknowledge that every couple has their own special combination of tools in their toolbox for connecting, and some things work for certain couples and other things work for other couples. And we want you to find your own special recipe and continue to use that stuff over time in your rituals. And what we're sharing here is a collection of things that have really worked for us, especially stuff that really gets us into our bodies. So check out these exercises in your portal. We're going to have separate videos for each one, and you can try them out at your leisure.
Enjoy. All right, this is the exercise on doing a body scan and breath work. Really simple. We're going to basically lay down side by side. We're going to do a body scan, which is simply tuning into our bodies and reporting the sensations that we feel and doing that out loud in the space with each other, which at first might feel a little bit strange, but it's a really good way to get connected to your body and also hear what your partner is feeling and just get a little bit more confident in that way. And then we're going to guide you through a breathwork practice, and Ben is going to give you some basic guidelines for how to do breathwork, and we'll also provide you with a playlist that we usually listen to, and if you want to choose your own music, you can do that too.
Yeah, so this is 2 exercises that we've combined here, and the first one is really just helping us ground into our bodies, and it's a simple mindfulness exercise. And the second one is a really powerful tool that both Shalina and I have been using for years now. It can be cathartic. It can really get you into your emotions. It can help you move through things that have been sort of stuck in your body for a long time. I work with a lot of men who have trouble feeling their emotions. They're really sort of up in their heads, and breathwork can really sort of drop them down into their emotions. It works really well for me for that. So we're going to share some of the things that you need to pay attention to with breathwork and guidelines for not going too far.
Mm-hmm. I find breathwork is a really cleansing ritual that we do. Sometimes even if I have a hard time sleeping, Ben will be like, okay, let's do a little bit of breathwork together, and we'll just do breathwork for 5 or 7 minutes even, and I find that I sleep so much better. So if I'm ever stuck in my head, breathwork is a great way to sort of drop down a few gears and calm my nervous system. So this is going to be a really great practice that you can not only use together, but also that you can make use of on your own too.
Mm-hmm. The first thing to know about this type of breath work, where we're laying on our backs and we're breathing in a circular way, is that it's very safe. It can be somewhat intense. Things can really change in your body. Your chemistry changes as you breathe in this way, connecting your breath without a pause. But it's very safe. So just trust that no matter what's happening to you during breath work or whatever's happening inside of you, you're okay and you are safe.
Yeah, and it's okay to go slow. It's okay to take a break. You don't need to push your nervous system past a point that feels safe or comfortable for you. So if there's any point where you're breathing and this feels too much, you can just back off. You can slow down your breath. You can breathe a little bit more gently. That's the beautiful thing about breath work, is that it's all about how you choose to engage with it. And you can go as intensely or as gently as you want. And every practice is unique. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And what we're going to share with you here today is a short practice. It's about 14 minutes. And that's what I encourage people to do as beginners, because at the 14-minute mark, you can really start to get into some stuff, but it's just the beginning. When I facilitate a full session for someone, it's about an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And usually after about the 20-minute mark, that's when things can get really intense for people, and it can be super useful to have a facilitator in the room to hold space for what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But in a 14-minute practice, it's just sort of like you're getting your foot in the door, but it's still quite beautiful.
Yeah.
So when you're doing this in a way where you don't have a facilitator and this is new for you, 14 minutes is still very safe. You're in the safe zone in terms of like not getting too carried away and like losing yourself. It's quite beautiful.
I feel my back on the floor.
I feel the heat of the fire.
I feel a little bit of tightness in my chest and tingling in my toes.
I feel the expansion of my chest from my breathing.
I feel some sensation in my jaw.
I feel my pelvis pressing into the ground. For breath work, we're going to use Shalina as the model, and I'm going to break down a little bit what she's doing and the important pieces of breath work. With this type of breath work, there's a flow, and you're focusing on only three things. You focus on the inhale, you release the exhale without any pressing or pushing, and you connect the breath without a pause. Normally, you breathe with a pause. You take a breath, and then your body is okay without breath for a minute. Not a minute, but a few seconds. With this, we're going to connect at the top and the bottom. And it can be that fast, it can be a little faster, it can be a little slower. But make sure you're not controlling the breath too much. A really long breath is actually a controlled breath. That's that ujjayi breath from yoga. That's not the type of breath that we're doing here. This is an open mouth practice, in through the mouth and out through the mouth. So there's a fairly fast flow that's happening with the breath here. And like I said, mouth open. So we'll have Shalina start her breathing, and normally we'll do this laying down next to each other, and we'll put some music on. You can see she's got a pillow under her head, not so that she's got too much of an angle, but just so that her nose is pointed up at the ceiling, not to the back of the room. Most people just need a little bit. She's breathing into her belly here, and she's also breathing into her chest. Usually the belly rises first and then the chest as it fills up. And then you release it all like a sigh. And you can tell that her breath isn't very loud right now, right? Her jaw's a little bit closed, but she's actually getting pretty good airflow in and out of her mouth. And it's fairly silent. In many ways, quiet breath is a good breath for a practice like this. And what's going to happen for the first few minutes is kind of an activation phase. You can start to feel electric in your body. You feel a little bit dizzy, but if you breathe past that, the dizziness goes away and you move into some kind of other space. It's almost dreamlike. Good, she's doing great. And so things that can happen to you while you're doing this kind of breath work is you might have an emotion come up, you might feel some discomfort in your body, you might need to shake. That's okay. You might need to tone. Sometimes we do that. We make some noise. Sometimes we'll tone together. When I hear someone toning while I'm breathing, we'll tone together. And it's good to do that a few times, but not to get stuck in a loop. You can get stuck in loops like that with breathwork. So it's important to just move through what you need to move through and come out the other side. You might also get some discomfort in your hands or your arms. Sometimes there's this thing called tetany where it feels like your hand is asleep, it's tingling. It's a pretty normal occurrence in breathwork, and just know that it's safe and that there is some connection between that tetany and a control in the breath, whether it's controlling on the in or controlling on the out. So just check in with your breath all the time to make sure that you're in a very surrendered place and enjoy. The last thing I would say is that at the end of a practice like this, we usually have a trigger song. So we're going to share a playlist where the first 2 songs add up to about 14 minutes. The third song is the song that when you hear that song, you bring your breath back to normal. So Shalina, bring your breath back down to normal. And all she's going to do, she's not going to hold her breath or anything, but she's just going to reintroduce those pauses between breath cycles. And what happens usually in that phase is this like warm blanket washes over your body as the chemistry comes back down to normal. It's like the nicest shavasana of your life. And lay there for, I would say, at least 10 minutes and just let yourselves integrate. And then when you feel ready, you can roll over. Shalina and I usually roll over and face each other and slowly open our eyes and share about what happened for us. And usually by that point, we're very dropped into our bodies. It's a really beautiful space when you need a really low-key date night. So enjoy that practice. Do it anytime anxieties are high or you really feel the need to sort of drop down and relax and you don't want to stare at a screen. You want to do something that is a little bit more connecting.
Okay, so this is the exercise on eye gazing and clearing, or as we also call it, emptying the bucket. What we do at the start of almost every single date night is we just sit in front of each other and we do a little eye gazing practice, and then we either do a clearing, which is in your dialogue scripts, or we do something called empty the bucket, which is just taking time on each side, maybe 5 to 10 minutes each, to sort of just talk about your day, share whatever is on your mind, what you're feeling in your body, just sort of get anything off your chest that you need to let go of in order to be fully present with your partner. So Ben and I are going to demonstrate eye gazing for you, but a few key things to remember. As always, you're going to be staying in your body. You're not going to be like moving into your partner's energy. You're really going to be holding your own center. You're going to maintain contact with your breath, really be present, and we're making eye contact with the left eye, which is the heart. So we're really contacting our partner's heart through eye gazing. So what we're doing is we're really just being present with our partner and dropping into our bodies, dropping into our hearts. Something that I notice is that if Ben and I are in a conflict or in a state of tension, and we take a few moments to eye gaze before we talk about the conflict, a lot of our defenses melt away, and I'll find myself feeling in love and an appreciation for my partner. When we eye gaze, we're really sort of dropping our walls and connecting. So this is a really beautiful practice for you to try on at all sorts of times of day, whether you're in harmony or you want to get into harmony.
I really encourage people to do this for more than 2 minutes. Set a really gentle 5-minute timer, or if you really want to go for it, a 10-minute timer. If you want to put on some really gentle non-lyrical music, go for it. But it takes a little while to sort of really get into your body and immerse yourself in the other person's world through their eyes. The eyes are the window to the soul. So it takes some time really to drift into that, but it really does change gears in the body, and it's a perfect lead-in to the empty the bucket exercise or any other connecting exercise.
So you'll notice that as Ben and I drop in, we begin to sync our breath. You don't have to sync your breath, but it's a nice way to get connected to your partner and also really stay in your body. So we tend to take big, deep breaths from time to time and just let it all go. And if you notice any discomfort come up in your body while you're eye gazing, if you feel giggly, that's okay. Just let it out and let it flow. Just let it pass. And just be present too to the sensations that you're feeling in your body or anything that might arise as you're eye gazing. Just notice it. Similar to a meditation where you just notice thoughts, notice sensations.
This is a really great intro into the empty the bucket exercise as well, because sometimes what comes up in that exercise is the person sharing something about a conflict that happened during the day, or something that might activate you or trigger you while you're listening. And so it's really a practice when you're listening to the other person of holding space and acknowledging whatever they're sharing and just like allowing it to move through you and mirroring back to them, and just like not mirroring verbally, just acknowledging what they're saying and noticing when you're triggered or noticing when you're having certain thoughts or certain judgments about what they're saying, and just breathing through that stuff and continuing to provide the space for them to share.
So generally we do that for 5 or 10 minutes with some really nice music, and then we will empty the bucket. And we're not going to go too deep into that. We're just going to kind of describe it for you. Basically, what we would do with the empty the bucket is similar to the clearing exercise. So one person is sharing, one person is listening, and then we switch. So we always have a timer with us with a non-invasive sound at the end, so it doesn't jolt you out of the space that you're creating with your partner, but it's something that will keep you on track so that we're not going too deep so that our partner is feeling flooded. So we might start just by making the eye contact and doing the eye gazing, and then when we're ready, we'll decide who wants to share first. So I'll ask, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. Something that I want you to know is that I had a really busy week, and I'm feeling really tired in my body, but I feel really excited about spending time with you tonight and reconnecting. I know we had a few communication glitches today, but I actually feel really good about where we're at, and I'm just excited to have this time to unwind with you and to relax and to sync back up.
Thank you.
Okay, so that is a little intro to you for the eye gazing and clearing exercise. You'll find the full exercise instructions in your PDF. Welcome to the exercise on massage and communication. So this little exercise is really just designed for you and your partner to practice asking for what you want, practice asking for pleasure, and really tune into your body. What feels good, what doesn't feel good. I think sometimes we feel uncomfortable asking for our partner to maybe adjust something or to change something up. And maybe when we're hearing that feedback, we think that we're not doing it right, and so we feel defensive. So this is a really non-invasive way to practice getting into that mode together, and to practice feeling safe around giving and receiving feedback and pleasure.
And it's also a practice for the person who's giving the pleasure in responding to your partner's asks and learning to just give what is asked for. And some of us have resistance. So like when the person's like, hey, can you do this for me? There's some resistance that comes up, and I have a resistance to being told what to do. And that comes through sometimes when Shalina's asking me for things. And this is a practice in learning to sort of overcome that and just get into giving her pleasure unconditionally.
Okay. So do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
I want to massage you.
Okay. All right. So we'll start with the hand. So I'm going to give my hand to Ben, and he's just going to massage, and I'm just going to tune in. He's going to tune in. I'm just going to ask for what I want.
And it can be very useful for the receiver to close their eyes so they can really feel what's happening. Gets you a little bit out of your head, a little more into your body. It can be hard to even know what we want sometimes. So we really have to feel into it.
Can you tickle my hand?
Yes.
I love it when you do that. Can you tickle up and down my fingers?
Or finger tickle.
Yeah. And can you tickle my palm?
When you're giving, it's very important to stay present and to focus on your fingertips, your own fingertips, as you're giving pleasure. We can all feel it when someone is giving a halfway approach when doing things like this. It's important to be 100%.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like we're all so much more sensitive than we maybe even give ourselves permission to be. And something that I've experienced in having a really bad massage before was somebody who wasn't fully present with me. They were like thinking about their day or thinking about who knows what. They weren't there in the room. And it was very uncomfortable, and it didn't feel good. In fact, it felt hurtful. And I think that when we're with our partner, one of the greatest gifts that we can give them is just presence. And so that's why we keep saying things like be in your body, be present, stay in your core. What that really means is just let your partner know that they're safe and that you're really there with them. And so when we're doing these practices of giving, whether it's massage or tickling or touch or clearings, just staying in our bodies is so potent. It's such good medicine, not just for us, but for our partnership. And I could let Ben tickle me on camera all day, but we're gonna close at this. So in this exercise, obviously you both get a chance to give and receive, and then you can actually have a little bit of a dialogue afterwards about how that was for you. If there was something uncomfortable that came up, or if you felt unsafe or triggered, and maybe it brought back a memory for you. This is a really good opportunity for you to go deeper into what comes up for you around giving and receiving pleasure, so that you two can build more safety and more trust when you're diving deep into your intimacy practices.